Hmm? Ah! Oh.
You're thinking what? A little helpless co-ed before bed? You know very well you eat this late. You're gonna get heartburn. Get it? Heartburn? That's it. That's all I get. One lame-ass vamp with no appreciation for my painstakingly thought-out puns. I don't think the forces of darkness are even trying. I mean, you could make a little effort here, you know? Give me something to work with.
Watch your mouth, little girl. You should know better than to tempt the fates that way. 'Cause the big bad is back. And this time...
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. I'm Penny.
And I'm Kara. For this episode, we're going to be discussing Season 4, Episode 6 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, titled Wild at Heart, written by Marty Noxon and directed by David Grossman.
This episode originally aired on November 9th, 1999, it's a lot of nines, to an audience of 4.1 million households, which is a huge leap compared to the 3.5 million households for Episode 5, Beer Bad. Some of the translated alternative titles in other languages for this episode were Latent Beast in Finnish,
It's pretty
Werewolves
on
in Italian, nice and straightforward, Getaway in Hungarian, which makes no sense whatsoever, and Crazy Soul in Romanian.
All right. I like Latent Beast. That's very, very, like, just cutting to it. Like,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
It's all good. Well, let's see what was going on in the world back in November of 1990.
Such a great time. Like,
It really was.
This is one of probably the best chunks of my life. And these songs take me right back to it. So the number one song in the US is Still Smooth by Santana featuring Rob Thomas. And the number one song in the UK is Lift Me Up by Jerry Halliwell. And I was a little obsessed with her still because of her time with the Spice Girls, Ginger Spice. She was my favorite. And so I followed her career for a little while after that. And I think my parents really didn't like her because all I did was sing her songs at the top of my lungs in my room.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Oh, gosh. And then best-selling books on the New York Times bestseller list are still Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, going strong in fiction, and Tis by Frank McCourt in nonfiction. For the U.S. box office, the number one movie at this time was The Bone Collector, followed by The Insider at number 2, and number 3, House on Haunted Hill, which I would rent with my cousin a
When you were
few
too
months
young?
later. Yep. And it scared the ever-loving hell out of me. I should not have watched that movie, and I have only watched it one time since because I think it scarred me a little bit.
I resisted seeing The Insider because I'm just not a fan of Al Pacino. I think young Al Pacino was an impressive actor, and I think older Al Pacino mostly just yells. And I was explaining this to a friend of mine when we were walking past the movie theater. And I was like, he just yells all the time. That's not acting. And right there was a poster for The Insider. And the whole poster was Al Pacino's face in full scream, just like so angry, screaming. And my friend was like, "Oh, I see what you mean." And I was like,
That's
"Yeah,
so funny.
that's my impression of all of Al Pacino's acting." And they were like, he's like a great American actor." And I was like, "Whatever. I don't like him." But I did eventually see that movie, and it was very good.
I have never seen it.
Oh, it's it's about somebody in the, I think it's tobacco, an inside executive, you know, turns evidence on the company. And I think Al
Interesting.
Pacino plays a journalist that he works with. And the
Huh.
the real the great performance of the movie is Russell Crowe, way before he was super famous for Gladiator.
Aw.
Um in in a in a role where it made people who had seen The Insider be like, "He's gonna play a gladiator? What?" Because he was like a dumpy middle-aged like office worker, you know? Getting into the news for that day, on November 9th, TAESA Flight 725 crashed a few minutes after leaving Uruapan Airport en route to Mexico City, killing 18 people. On November 12th, how do I pronounce this? Dutse earthquake struck Turkey with a magnitude of 7.2, killing 845 people and causing widespread destruction. Also on November 12th, rockets were fired at 3 US and UN buildings in Pakistan in a seemingly coordinated move. The attack, which missed its intended targets, was believed to be linked to UN sanctions being imposed on Afghanistan for the country's failure to turn over Saudi terrorist, oh, you might recognize this name, Osama bin Laden. On November 13th, in later news, on
Yeah.
November 13th, Toy Story 2, directed by John Lasseter and starring Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, premiered in the US.
Also historic.
Yes. The Toy Story
Mm,
movies are important parts of our culture, and
it's
we should
true.
all give them the respect they deserve.
I love Toy Story. Oh man.
It's like plane crash, earthquake,
Osama
war,
bin Laden.
Toy Story.
I tried. There was nothing else light happening.
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
believe you.
well, here we go.
Yeah.
1999 kind of ramped up things a bit.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
good
was
times.
It was a good time in my life, though, I have to say. I was in a really good place.
That's
Second year of
good.
law school, way better than first year of law school.
Yeah.
Um, I was having a good time being in New York City, and
Hmm.
that's gone forever. Okay, let's move on to the episode. And first, I just want to address a little bit that this is a lot of people's not favorite episode.
Hmm.
And some people that we sometimes podcast with were like, I don't want to talk about that episode. and um, and a lot of people are like, oh, I hate that one. And it's, eh, Oz breaks Willow's heart and a little bit all our hearts.
Yeah.
And it's not comfortable. It's not really pleasant, but it's a critical plot episode for the whole series. And
Very.
it's very well made, very well acted.
Hmm.
I think very well written. I I never skip this one when I'm doing a rewatch because seeing have her heart broken by Oz is such a turning point for her character, like forever.
Yeah.
And sends
It.
her deeper into magic. It's important.
I think it critically shapes who she is as a person. Like it is, and everybody, that first heartbreak is always going to be something that you learn from, but not, I think for not everyone, it's not always transformative. And
Right.
Willow, it is truly transformative. And I think that's why I can handle it on a rewatch.
Yeah. Because
Because
you
I
know what it leads to.
remember, yep, I remember watching this when it aired And my poor mom thought somebody had died because I was inconsolable at the end of the
Oh.
episode. Because, it was my first semester of my 6th grade year.
Oh,
And
you
I
poor
also
baby.
I had my first quote unquote boyfriend. I know, at that time. And like, any 6th grade girl, I it was a bigger deal in my head than it actually was. And I just remember his name was Chris. But I just remember watching this episode and being like, "Oh my gosh, if Chris breaks up with me, this is going to be terrible." And thinking about I was like, and then my next boyfriend, it's going to be even worse. Like, I remember sitting there thinking about how much pain was in my future as I got
You're
older.
a
'Cause that's
dark
what
little kid.
I kind of was. Like, I overthought, I overanalyzed everything. I was very introspective too. And my poor mom was just like, Are you okay?" Like, I remember her coming in when I had like a roll of toilet paper in my hand, just wiping tears away. So this was a pretty important episode when it aired. And now as an adult, it hits me in a very different way. I feel a lot for Willow. And can we just say Allison Hannigan has the saddest, like, upset face and crying face. The way that she acts, like her face acting is
Yeah.
insane. And there's something about her when she looks hurt and upset, the way she conveys it on her face just makes me want to hug her and
Yeah.
like shield her.
It's funny because so often that character Willow is so strong and so moral and so certain about right and wrong. And when she's hurt, she's so vulnerable. She's so small. She's so breakable. It
Yeah.
it's true of a lot of people that seem really strong that they still can be broken and hurt. And society sometimes is like, no, 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 you're strong. You don't do broken and
Oh
hurt
yeah.
to
Yeah.
those people. And it's not fair. Everybody should be
Yeah.
allowed to have the full range of human emotions. JW has said on numerous occasions, like, whenever we backed ourselves into some kind of corner on the show, we would just put Willow at risk. And we knew all of our fans would be on board with that. And
Yeah.
I think he was kidding,
Yeah.
but
Mm,
he's right. Like, like I think back to like season 2 when Angel has turned to Angelus, but no one knows
yep.
yet. And
Yep.
he's like, Willow, come here. And like, when Spike
Yep.
kidnaps her and all these
Yep.
other times when Willow's been in danger. And it makes us, all of the audience, really invested in a way that
Mhm.
other characters being in danger doesn't the same way.
It's
Like with
true.
Buffy, you don't want her to be in danger, but it's what she
No.
does.
Yeah.
So you don't feel the same kind of like terror.
Mm-mm.
But with Willow, it like breaks your heart a little bit.
Well, and they stick her in a pink fuzzy sweater,
Yeah, they always make her look like a
like
little
the picture of
sweetie pie.
innocence.
Yeah. We'll talk in the spoiler section about Willow's future growth.
This episode also opens with one of a good classic Buffy pun.
Oh yeah, I love the opening scene.
It's so funny. And it's so cheesy, but it's nice in an episode that's so heavy to
Hmm.
open with a little bit of levity. And her
Absolutely.
heartburn joke after, she's like, "You get it? Nothing? Like, that's it?" Like, come on, expecting him to play along and laugh. Well, he's dust. But I
Yeah.
enjoy that one. And
But
then
then she's
Spike.
like, "Are the powers of darkness even trying?"
I know. Ugh.
Yeah, we get Spike right away after that. So exciting.
Those were my first notes for this episode, was just Spike in all caps.
It's
And
funny because my memory of that moment when he gets tased and taken away is not that it's in this episode. So I was
yeah,
fully surprised to see him. And then I was like,
doing
oh,
here.
what's gonna I don't remember Spike being, and then the zzz, and
I
he's
know.
taken away, and I'm like, oh.
Such a tease.
It's so
Like, you
great. He's
get
mid-sentence, and it's a
uh,
classic Spike moment, up on a roof,
uh,
looking down, being all broody and threatening. He's he's probably smoking, he's got the letter, he's all
mhm.
spiky about it, and then, oh,
It's so much funnier that he gets interrupted.
yeah,
It's
it's a
just
fantastic
so
moment,
good.
and it's such a tease. It's like Spike is back in town, but we don't know because we don't know, what's
Mhm.
going on.
More
I
shady
mean, we
military
know what's
men.
going on,
Yeah.
but at the time in the series, we didn't know what was
It's
going
like,
on.
who the heck? Well, and we also get to see some Willow and Oz being absolutely adorable together at the beginning of the episode, which makes it so much more painful. I think rewatching it now, what struck me and how they opened is how everything seems great. They seem stable. There's a little hiccup. We've already seen that Oz has this weird kind of attraction to Veruca, and Willow obviously is dealing with, a little jealousy from that. But watching the episode overall, you're not thinking that they're going to break up by the end of the
No.
episode. That's not forecasted in any way. And they're adorable. And they're being their stable, adorable selves. And it just makes the destruction that comes later all the more heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Like
because
this
you knew
one,
what they
ugh.
had, and even in the episode, well, I don't know if I could say this. I was gonna say that even in the episode when Veruca's not around, they continue to be cute, but we don't actually get a lot of them, together without the presence of Veruca. Even when
Yeah.
there's that scene with just the 2 of them, he has the scratches on him, and he can't
Ugh, I hate
it's like
that.
Veruca's in the room with them, you know?
Yeah. It's ugh, that poor Willow. I definitely that scene, it just makes me so sad for her. Like
Yeah.
she has no idea. And the way that you can tell, like she's obviously not used to him rejecting her sexually. And nobody really prepares that's one thing I'll say. Nobody really prepares women for men not wanting to have sex. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the patriarchy's message, right?
yes,
And
in
it's the
pop
way that
culture.
men get excused for a lot of bad behavior and rape is
Mhm.
like, "Oh, men are these, like, lust machines. They're just
Yep.
constantly lusting." But again, women are too emotional to be in government. But men are constantly so lusty that the slightest thing will make them
Mhm.
have to have sex right away. Like,
Yep.
"Oh, no, he saw your bra strap. It's your fault if he rapes you." Like,
Yep.
all that stuff. And it's just as bad for men as it is for women.
Yes.
Even though men get to be the ones in a position of power, it means that they're not allowed to be humans. They have to, like,
Mhm.
pretend or act all the time like the only emotions they have are anger and lust.
Yeah.
So, it's horrible for everybody. But it is a thing that is used by the patriarchy to excuse bad men's behavior, and it's also a message that we all have started receiving from the time you're old enough to know that boys and girls are different
Yes.
from each other, is
Mhm.
that boys and men only want one thing, right?
Yep.
That's the phrase that everyone says. He only wants one thing. And if then you live in this world where men are constantly lust machining and you make an overture to a man and he rejects you, it's
Yep.
like you don't even count as a woman anymore.
Yep.
Like you must be
Yep.
so hideous and unattractive and unappealing or have done something so horrible that it
Mhm.
turned off his magical, like, permanent, infinite lust machine.
Exactly. Like, unpacking that for me in my personal life, I was like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "Nobody warned me about this." And I remember having all of it, like, kind of like Willow. It's like, "What is wrong with me? There's
Right.
something wrong with me." And watching her face, she does such Allison Hannigan does such a brilliant job in this episode, but watching her process that and the hurt that you can see come across her face is so brilliantly done. And it leads to, honestly, one of my favorite Willow Xander interactions. It's a little odd to think about it in real life, how just, in the real timeline of this, just last year, their senior year of high school, she cheated on Oz with Xander, and they've all moved past it, and Xander and Oz can be around each other, and Oz seems to, at least on the surface, be completely fine with Xander and Willow's relationship continuing.
Yeah, they worked it
But
through.
it's mature of them. And I think Xander honestly gives her some pretty solid advice.
You will not be surprised to know that I have a clip.
Well, things with Oz are weird. And I talked to Buffy about it, but I think we're in Guyville here. I need a translator from the Y side of things.
Well, last time I checked, I had the creds. Hit me.
What does it mean when a girl wants to,
If you're doing it, I think you should be able to say it.
Yes.
make love?
Wild monkey love or tender Sarah McLachlan love?
Any kind. But what if the girl wants to, and the guy doesn't? That's a bad sign, right?
Could be. Or the girl caught the guy in one of the 7 annual minutes he's legitimately too preoccupied to do it.
Well, say the girl's been noticing.
Well, I've deciphered your ingenious code.
Okay. Say I've been noticing Oz notice someone else. A woman.
And is this chick noticing back?
Most definitely.
Well, have you asked Oz about it?
Well, I thought about it, but then I'll think I'm all jealous and worried.
But you are, and odds are he feels it. I'll bet that's all there is to the weird you're feeling. You guys should talk things out, Will. You both feel better.
Perfectly good advice, except
Yeah.
when you're dealing with werewolf lust, which is a
Yes.
whole different level.
I was like, in the real world, that would be it. And she would go talk to him, and either he would, cheat on her eventually or not, or they would resolve it, and it would be fine. Because that makes perfect sense. Like, yes, you're feeling a little bit jealous and insecure, and it's understandable, and that is probably bleeding through in your behavior around him. You just don't know that there's this kind of cosmic animalistic connection at play that nobody has any control over, seemingly. Poor Willow.
I
And
don't know about
Xander,
no control, but
yeah,
it definitely seems difficult to control.
yeah.
There's the first night when Oz breaks out of his cage and finds werewolf Veruca. That
Mm-hmm.
is not his fault.
No, that's
The
not.
No. The second night, after he's bald-faced lied to Willow and Buffy,
Uh-huh.
when he's like, Veruca, get in this cage with me, that is 100%
Yep.
Oz's fault.
And I like how they give him, like, they set up a chance for him to confide in Buffy. And, she said, like, Oz, are you okay? Like, if it's possible, you seem more monosyllabic than usual. Like, that is his chance to come clean and say to Buffy, like, look, Veruca is a werewolf. I got out of my cage last night, ran into her. That's how I found out. That could be the thing for the gang to work on together and brainstorm and figure out what to do together. But he wanted her in that cage
Yeah.
for multiple reasons. He wanted her in there so she wouldn't hurt anyone, but he also wanted her.
Yeah.
And he set it up perfectly. And that's
did.
where his culpability comes in.
He had
It's
so many
just,
other options because I
yeah,
can understand not wanting to tell Willow.
right.
I get that. I can understand not wanting to tell Buffy. Buffy's Willow's best friend.
Mhm.
Go to fucking Giles. Oh,
Yeah, he's dying. That's funny. What's going to be our bleep word this time? He is dying for something to do, poor man.
He's bored as
Like,
anything. Like, go to Giles. Giles will help you, and Giles would be understanding about how confusing that is with your
yes,
relationship with Willow. All right, you don't want to go to
absolutely.
Giles? You could go to Xander.
Yeah,
He'd help you. He'd probably eventually tell Willow, but probably you'd get help first.
yeah.
And yeah, no, Oz made this decision. He invited Veruca to his cage, like right before sunset. Like,
Hmm.
a- and
Well, and
I,
he grabbed her and initiated that kiss
yeah, he
to
pulled her
like,
physically into the cage.
and which was a very uncharacteristically aggressive move from him. We never see Oz aggressive. Even with Willow, like everything is very gentle or tender. He does not behave that way.
Which
And
is why him turning into a werewolf on the show, getting bitten and becoming a werewolf is so interesting because the Oz character is
yeah.
unflappable, right?
Yeah.
Like bad stuff happens and he's like, "Whoa, did y'all just see that guy turn to dust?" Like he's chill all the time. And werewolves are the complete opposite of chill. They have
Yeah.
zero chill. And I keep thinking about that scene earlier in the season. I can't remember what episode, but where he says, "Every time I turn into a wolf, I touch something dark." And
Yeah.
he's saying it in a context of like Willow magic can be scary. And
Mm.
I remember when we talked about it, I was like, how come nobody is like, well, Oz, do you need to talk about that? Like that
I
sounds
know.
intense.
It's like let him talk.
At Halloween, he had like his greatest fear was
I
losing
know.
control.
Poor Oz.
So we know that those wolfy feelings have actually been in him when he's
Yeah.
not a wolf. And he's
Yeah.
just been controlling them with his willpower this whole
Well, I
time.
I think honestly that's a huge part of why he is so intrigued by and drawn to Veruca because she acknowledges that, there's this wolf inside them at all times and it may be I don't know, like it may be under the surface, but it's not entirely dormant.
You have a cage?
Don't you?
Yeah, it has a little wheel with a plastic ball and a cute little bell in it. God, somebody's domesticated the hell out of you.
It's my choice. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Maybe. Or maybe you just don't want to admit what happened to you. Maybe you just want to pretend like you're a regular guy.
Well, I am. I'm only a wolf 3 nights a month.
Or you're the wolf all the time, and this human face is just your disguise. You ever think about that, Oz?
I mean, she's not wrong in
Yeah.
a lot of ways. She had a lot of good points. And
Yeah.
you can't, if you have something, the show, it's always a metaphor.
Mhm.
And if you have something in you that is dark, that you're repressing with your will or masking with your will, it it can't stay buried forever.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna break. And if you're me, that break happens in your 40s. But, you know, as a werewolf, things happen a little bit more quickly, I guess, and he had his break. Like he
Yeah.
couldn't hold it in anymore. And when he decided to stop holding it in, he went all the way in the other direction.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Totally.
oh, I'll just get in a cage with this werewolf, cheat on my girlfriend with her in human form and werewolf form. It'll be great.
I know. Ugh. It's just so awful. It is, you know, so out of Oz's character and out of what we would expect of him to cheat on Willow.
Right. Everyone says, Buffy says it, Xander says it, like, he's not the kind to stray. Oz would never
Yeah.
hurt Willow. Like, and he wouldn't, I think, without
Yeah.
this thing having happened to him to change him.
Yeah. Which is sad. It makes me want to know more about Veruca's kind of werewolf origin story. Like I would
Yeah.
love to know more about what happened to her and how she became this way. Because Oz, growing up on the Hellmouth probably helped with
Hmm.
him. And the fact that there were people around readily available and prepared to help him and you know talk to him about it, acknowledge it, and have this common goal of keeping people safe, that was good for him. I guess Veruca did not have that.
Yeah. I do want to take a minute to give a shout out to Paige Moss, who plays Veruca.
Mm.
I think she is fantastic. She's mesmerizing on screen.
Oh, yeah.
Important to note, she does not do the singing. She's lip syncing. And
Okay.
there's a band whose music that is, and I forgot who it was. But she's really, everything she does is animalistic. Like the way she moves, the
Her
way she
head
sings, the way she
tilts.
tilts her head. When
Yep.
she's talking to Oz, her head is leaned forward like she's an actual wolf.
Yep.
It it's really great body acting. Like the physicality of it is fantastic. She's got a
Mhm.
really interesting voice and those
Yes.
giant eyes. She's really fun to watch on screen, even though
Mhm.
we all hate Veruca.
Oh, yeah. I hate her, but she draws you in.
Yeah.
She does a great job making everyone hate her. Like,
Yeah.
the way she move, like her physicality, like you were talking about, the way she holds herself and her movement as she's talking. Even at the bronze, Xander and Giles are also very drawn in at the,
Yeah.
disappointment of
That's
Buffy
such a
and
funny
Willow.
scene. When
It's
when Buffy is like looking at Willow, who's looking at Oz, who's looking at Veroka, and
yeah.
then she's like, "Color me bored, Kel Fiona." Like Buffy
Yeah.
is 100% like, "I'm here. My role is to help Willow."
Yes. Support
And
supporter
and
Buffy.
the way I do that is by talking some trash about this Veruca chick
Yeah.
because what she's doing is no good. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, Giles completely oblivious is like, "Oh, I think she has quite a lot of presence for a girl her age." It's like,
Yeah.
Giles.
It's like not helping Giles, and poor Giles. Quick little tangent. When he showed up to the bronze and
Yeah.
was so excited, and they were all looking at him like, "What the hell are
Why
you
are you
doing here?"
here?
I was
Yeah.
just like, "Be nice to Giles. He is lonely and unemployed right now." And the contrast of it, I rewatched season 1 recently, and he goes to the bronze in the first episode in the pilot, but to get Buffy, and he is miserable and hates it and makes comments about the music and like wants to get out of there, and now he's so like just eager for something to do. He shows up just to hang out and offers to buy everybody a latte and enjoys Veruca's singing. Like, I was just like, oh, you guys be nice to him.
I'm like, what Giles needs is a woman about my age to
Yeah, I volunteer.
go and talk to him, and maybe they could get a table together near the
Perfect.
others but not with the others.
Hmm.
I think that is what should happen, and we should retroactively write me into the story so I could date Giles.
Perfect. I support this. Maybe in the reboot.
Yeah, I'm the appropriate age for Giles at that. I might actually even be a little older than Giles in the show. So
How old
I
is Giles in the show at this
I don't
point?
think they ever specify. But
Curious.
his
He's definitely
electric
older than
Kool-Aid
Wesley.
Satan trip was in the 70s. So he's
I
got to
can't do math.
be, yeah. It does mean he's not Gen X.
Hmm.
He must be a boomer. Ew. Anyway,
Oh. Oh, I don't like that.
it's okay.
Sorry,
There are nice
boomers.
boomers.
That's true. They're not we shouldn't lump everybody together.
Giles is nothing if not unique and separate from other people his own age.
This is very true. But
Uh,
gosh, I love Giles' moments in this episode too. Like when Buffy shows up at his apartment and he's got, that little scruff going on while he's angrily yelling at the TV when people are getting things wrong on Jeopardy. He looks so thrilled when Buffy comes in, and he's just like eager
Anything
to
you need, I can
do
help you. What do
something.
you want me to do? Yeah. Okay, check back in with me right away.
No, it's just so cute. I was like, "Yes, Buffy, you check in with him."
It is really adorable.
Oh, oh,
God.
Giles.
Well, that whole Giles is bored thing is going to pay off eventually in a really
Mhm.
great way. But it did have some like light moments in the episode. There were some other really fun light moments. We talked about the cold open, but then there's the moment when Buffy and Willow are leaving psychology class and Buffy gets her paper and whatever grade she got in
Yes!
on it was better than Willow, and that's never happened. And they have
That
this
was so
conversation.
cute.
Are you okay? How'd you do? This is good. I mean, this is excellent. You did better than me. This is so unfair. You made me jealous of you academically. Buffy!
Aww.
I know. Can you believe it?
Wow. I guess Professor Walsh isn't so ogre after all.
And she wants me to lead a discussion group next class. That means more work, right? Shouldn't she have a better reward system? You know, like a cookie or a toy surprise like at the dentist?
She wants you to lead a discussion group? Okay, jealous again. Jealous. Okay, I'm back.
So precious. I do
So
love
cute.
that. And Buffy learning, early on in her college career that if you're good at what you do, you get to do more work.
Yes, that is the reward for being good in school is more work.
Yep.
And she's not wrong. I was a little upset that she gets a toy surprise at the dentist. All I
I
ever got is
know.
a
I
free
never got that.
toothbrush.
Right? Or maybe a sticker when I was a kid at like the children's dentist. But it was maybe, it's like toothbrush and then a toothpaste flavor that was different than
Gross.
mint. Yep.
I hate children's toothbrush flavors. I think they're
Oh,
nasty. Even as a
I
kid,
can't.
I was like, don't
Yeah.
make me use that.
It was like bubble gum or some crap.
Yeah, or like
No.
orange soda flavor. It was nasty.
I can't think of that. I'm having like sense memory flashbacks.
So gross.
Terrible. Oh gosh.
I remember there was like a grape flavored toothpaste.
Oh, not grape. Nothing grape.
Oh,
Like Robitussin.
I'm feeling a little nauseated now thinking
Yep.
about it. So let's move on.
See. What can
But-
we?
It's good to know that Buffy, the reason Buffy has not historically done well in school is because, she has a full-time job on the side as the Slayer.
Just a smidge. She's got some other stuff going on. No big
She's
deal.
distracted constantly. It's not just because she gets distracted by boys and clothes. It's, it's the Slayer. It's her destiny. But
It's
you
life
can
or death.
we've all known for the whole series that Buffy's not dumb, right? She's
Yeah.
very smart. She's very quick. It's just that all of that is generally focused on
She
the
did great on
slaying.
her SATs.
Yeah.
She's
And
bright.
it is funny that Willow would say Professor Walsh is not so ogre after all. That those are words that will come back to haunt her later in the
Oh gosh. I like Professor Walsh warning Buffy about two wild dog. We can save this for spoilery discussion. Actually, that's spoilery.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But that was an awkward moment, and Riley being so nice, just like, "Oh, do you have a question, Buffy?" And she's like, "Nope."
Nope, gotta go. Something to take care of.
It's like, okay. Oh, jeez. And I will say, most of my notes in this episode are Veruca related. And one part, like, I know we are supposed to hate her. She is supposed to make us feel a certain way as we watch this episode. But what bothers me so much, and I don't know if it's irrational that this is what gets to me, is her good shirt comment to Willow.
Oh, yeah.
As she's walking away from that lunch table, which irritated me to begin with, because, Oz sits down and he makes a comment about what she's eating, and she's like, I like to eat. I hate chicks who are like, does that have dressing on it? And
that is such men wrote that line.
That's exactly what I thought. And Marty
I like it when
Noxon,
girls aren't on a diet all the time, but also you have to be skinny.
Yes. It's only hot if you like to eat pizza and burgers if you're thin.
Yeah.
Otherwise, no.
It's disgusting and amoral and somehow has something to do with everyone else as well as yourself.
I hate that crap.
I
But
hate
that
it.
line in particular, I was just like, oh, shut up. And then I was glad that Oz said, my girlfriend's coming when she offered for him to sit down. But it definitely seemed more like a quick way to be like, I have to get out of this conversation now.
Yeah, well, then
Then,
Willow actually comes and sits down and joins them, and she's like trying her hardest to not be jealous about Veruca. And the two of them are talking music stuff, and that awkwardness
poor
of Willow being like
Willow.
trying to like get in the conversational flow and
Yeah.
completely not understanding what was happening. That was just a microcosm of the entire episode.
Oh,
But
yeah.
like, she's not a werewolf. She can't play werewolf games. She's not a musician. She can't
Yep.
have musician conversations. But then Oz leaving and leaving Willow at that table with Veruca,
I know.
unforgivable.
I was just like, Oz, what do you do? I wrote all sorts of curse words in my notes at this point. So I was just like, what are you doing? That is so cruel. Just because he wants to escape the awkwardness. He doesn't
Yeah.
say, oh, Willow, let's go
No,
to
he
my
leaves
room
her
or
there.
something. He just abandons her. And her good shirt comment was just
Okay. So I have
mm.
this following that.
Check out the rapid exits. Was it me?
Aw.
Me, I don't speak musicianese. How come you didn't tell me I look like a crazy birthday cake in this shirt?
I thought that was the point.
He thinks she's sexy. He gets this blushy thing going on behind his ears. It's for me only.
Doesn't mean anything. And so Oz checks out another girl. He loves you.
I know. I know. And I don't want to be the kind of girl who freaks every time my boyfriend notices somebody else. I mean, I have wrong feelings about other guys sometimes. But I feel guilty. I flog and punish.
Exactly. I'm sure Oz is flogging and punishing himself. This is sounding wrong before I even finish. Look, I promise you, in a couple of days, it's gonna be like Veruca.
You think?
Absolutely. Oz just isn't the type to stray.
Not tonight anyways. He'll be locked in a cage.
Oh, that makes it so much worse that she feels like she cannot worry or overthink or wonder where he is because she knows exactly where he'll be. So it's all the more devastating when she walks down the stairs and sees them naked together.
Yeah.
Ugh, poor
It's
Willow.
and also in that moment, she saw Oz the day before. All right, so timeline. This conversation happens, and then that night, it's the first night of the 3 nights of the full moon, and Oz is in his cage alone, and he breaks out and wakes up
Mhm.
in the woods with Veruca after having attacked Professor Walsh. Then he rejects Willow's sexual advances because he's got scratches all over his
Mhm.
body. And then she talks to Xander. And then she sort of resolves after talking to Xander, like, I'm going to have a conversation with him. And I'm sure
Yeah.
in her moment, she was like, I'll go first thing in the morning when he
Yeah.
turns back into being a human before classes and everything. I'll bring him breakfast and we'll have a conversation. And so
Yeah.
she's walking down those stairs like, I'm going to fix my relationship. And
Yep.
it's like, no, you're not. Oz slept
Yeah.
with someone else, and she's
Yeah.
right there, and it's someone you already hate. Like
And
it. Oh,
at the girl that she's worried about and has probably been trying to tell herself, it's nothing to worry about. Like, he loves me and he wouldn't do that. Everybody else says he wouldn't do that. And to find them naked, sleeping together is just utterly devastating. And the look on her face and the way that she, drops what she's holding and it just crushes her. And she does such a good job with it. And Veruca, in that moment, like when Oz is trying to talk to her and Veruca pipes up
oh yeah.
and he
He's
snaps
like,
at her.
leave.
Yep. I was like, man, woman, get
Yeah.
out of there.
But Veruca, meanwhile, what's going on in her head is, I found a mate.
Yeah.
I got to get rid of this chick, and then this is going to be me and Oz together,
Hmm.
werewolfing and playing rock music for the rest of our lives. Like,
Yep.
she thinks that she just hit the jackpot. She found the guy, and the way they play it, the way it's written,
Mm,
the werewolf hormones are intense.
yeah.
And, he has only ever he's never been around another werewolf, right? He got bit by a
Yeah.
baby werewolf.
His little cousin.
Yeah, and then, he's been locked in a cage every full moon, he's never met another werewolf, but
Yeah.
he must have been getting pheromones off of Veruca for the last few weeks that he didn't really understand. He
Yeah.
was like, "What? Why am I so drawn to her? Like, this
Yeah.
is weird. I don't even feel this way about Willow." Like, that must have been very confusing. But
Very.
in sort of Oz's way, he represses it and doesn't talk to anyone about it and pretends it's not
Yeah.
happening. But he keeps going back to the bronze to watch Veruca play. Like,
Yeah.
he could have avoided her.
He could have. In an ideal world where Seth Green wasn't gonna be on the show less, I mean, he could have gone to Angel and just to get away, he could
Yeah.
have
Angel
removed
would have helped him.
himself.
In
Yep.
a heartbeat, Angel would have helped him with that. He would
Yep.
have been like, "Oh, a dark power that's hard for you to understand, that makes you hurt people?
Yeah.
I understand that.
Like,
I can
I
help
got
you."
you. I got
Yep.
you, bro.
Yeah. I happen to have a cage already. Here we go.
I
Like, I'm Angel.
when
I have cages.
I did too. Like, what did you think? What was your reaction when, Willow catches them and she and Oz are talking and, he says, I'm sorry. And she starts going into how upset she is. And he says, I know how it feels. I remember.
Oh, that made me really mad.
I was just like, Oz, not the time, not the same.
Yeah.
High school where they're
She
making
kissed
out,
another
very
boy.
hurtful. Yeah.
You slept with someone after lying to her about it.
Yep.
And you guys have been, like, practically married for the last several months. Like, that's
Yep.
not the same thing.
Not at all. That made me so
But
mad.
I think that's a very realistic version of that conversation
Yes.
where, you know, y somebody gets caught doing something they're not supposed to do, immediately they get defensive, right? They're like
Yeah.
basically, he says, "I'm sorry," and then after that, he's like, "I don't know why you're still so upset with me."
Yeah.
And I said, "I'm sorry. What else do you want?" And then he's like, "You do bad things too." And it really it's very triggering for me. I'm like, "Oh
Uh-huh.
my god." It's such a red flag. It's such a, like, abusive boyfriend
Mhm.
thing to do, and I've never in any other episode ever thought Oz seemed abusive, but
Exactly.
in
He's
this
throwing
one
it in her face a little in
yeah,
that moment. And it's just
and
which would
you
be
can tell
even
he
more
doesn't even really
confusing.
believe that it's the same. He's just
Yeah.
trying to just defend himself, but
Yeah.
it it's such a hurtful direction to go in, and, for me, if I were on the receiving end of that, it would destroy my trust because I would be like,
Mhm.
"You said you were better. You've been friends with Xander this whole time. You said we had put it behind us. You agreed it was over. I did
Yeah.
everything you wanted me to do to let it be over, and then you're bringing it up again months later like it justifies your bad behavior. Are you
Yeah.
gonna do this for the rest of our lives? Are you gonna
Right.
always sandbag some facts to use against me later? Because who can have a relationship like that if you can never, like, put
That would
things
be a
behind
nightmare.
you?"
And you can't let things go. And it's
Eh
just and I thought I mean, I was irritated that he said it, but I was glad that they wrote that for him because like it feels very realistic and obviously we love Oz, but he's not perfect.
No.
And this was a nice kind of, chink in that armor. And Willow immediately kind of like reacting to it, I thought was also great. Like both of them do a phenomenal job in this episode.
Yeah, the acting all around is very, very good.
Mm.
It's funny, it's an episode where Buffy has hardly anything really to do. Like, she's
Sure.
only sort of in the episode because it's the title, it's Buffy, but, like,
Yeah.
she doesn't move the action forward, she's a side character. It's Willow and Oz's episode, which is fine, I'm
Mhm.
not complaining. I just,
It's rare,
noticing. Yeah.
but it's kind of not like she's being supportive, Buffy.
Yeah, she's like,
And
first it's talking to Willow and reassuring her, and then later it's trying to, hunt Veruca, and, she
ugh,
does play an important part at the end. She saves Willow's life by stopping werewolf Oz from killing her,
That's true.
but for the most part, it's Willow and Oz's episode, and they own it, and they fully inhabit it, and at no point during the episode was I like, this is disappointing. There's not more Buffy. Like
I
I
know.
was fully invested in what was going on.
Ugh.
I have an observation about Oz's werewolf cage.
Hmm.
Why is it all like no right angles? Like all the
I
cage bars are all herky jerky,
Yep.
like uneven at different angles. It's like, do you know the film Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? It's a
It sounds
1930s
familiar.
German film. It's one of the like famous, early films of the German expressionist movement. And
That's why it sounds familiar, because I've heard you talk about it before.
yeah,
There you go. I
and
was like, why do I know that?
it's one of the things it's known for is that all the sets are all like at different angles, and like the
Huh.
floor is often not flat,
Yeah,
and all of the
discombobulating.
furniture is like sort of exaggerated, like Dr. Seussy kind of weird shapes and stuff. And I was like, oh, did Oz get his cage from the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? Why does it look like that? I kind of like it. It gives some ambiance, but it's like, why would
That
you
is
build a
true.
cage like that? Why is it like that? I don't know.
It is very poorly constructive. Well, especially because what's her face? There's one like Veruca can stick her whole head in between the
Yeah, the bars aren't
bars.
close enough together. I
Yeah,
guess
I
when
was like,
she's a
what?
werewolf, she's bigger, but still,
Yeah,
it's
With-
not a good enough cage.
that is funny. Oh gosh, and she makes me so angry. I looked at the rest of my notes and saw the other things that she said that I wrote down.
Oh, like this one? This is where we flip from, oh, she's a werewolf too, you know, no wonder he's attracted to her. I get it, to, oh no, we hate her again.
Yeah.
This ends right now.
I can help you, Oz. You're scared. I was too. But then I accepted it. The animal, it's powerful. Inside me all the time. Soon you just start to feel sorry for everybody else. Because they don't know what it's like to be as alive as we are. As free.
Free to kill people? I won't do that. You shouldn't.
You don't understand. But you will. You'll see that we belong together.
No. I know where I belong.
It reminds me so much of I Won't Be Ignored, Dan.
Oh
From-
gosh. Oh
from,
gosh.
Fatal Attraction. The way
I
she
won't be ignored. Like,
the way she's like, we belong together. You'll see.
ugh,
It's very obsessive stalker
It's so
vibes.
creepy.
And of course, she decides to take Willow out. That's her
Yeah.
solution to the
Sometimes
problem.
you have to kill to keep what's yours. I was like, he is not yours.
But she thinks they're sort of fated to be together.
Yeah.
Right? She's
Well,
like, we're meant to
Did
be.
she say like she sensed his presence before she ever saw him?
Yeah.
Which I believe, sure, okay. Some weird wolfy
Toenails.
or stuff. But the fact that she is already kind of claiming him
Yeah.
is intense. And he clearly, I think she just was the catalyst to him realizing some stuff about his own internal issues. But now, the way that she is wanting to take Willow out is so dangerous. And it almost makes me mad at him for not realizing that this could have been a problem. She's so reckless. She doesn't have a cage. She doesn't care about, being out while she's in her wolf form. And she also talks about being able to remember after, working on it for a while, what she did when she was a werewolf. And she never denies that she's killing anyone. She accepts it as part of their nature. And of course, she's going to target Willow. And poor Willow, who turns to magic and ultimately doesn't end up following through with this spell when Veruca comes and locks the door. And one of the lines she says to her, she was like, "I know what you love. I have his scent on me right
Oh,
now."
damn.
I was just like, no. I was like, Willow, hit her. Go hit. Like, you can hit her now. It's fine. And then Oz comes in, and when she says, like, "Come stop me, I like it rough," remember? I was just thinking, now she's just twisting the knife.
Yeah. And she's
Jail.
enjoying it. She's
Yep.
sadistic. And I think that her part of her sort of belief system is that becoming the werewolf elevated her to a new status, and she's above humans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're werewolves are truly free, right? We're the real thing. Humans are
Yeah.
just food, and or whatever. And it's incredibly dangerous as a thought process. And you know, I think you're right that she was a catalyst for Oz to admit and realize some things that he needed to admit and realize, because she's dead at the end of the episode and he still is like, everything's a mess, I have to leave. If she was the entire problem, if it was just her, he could stay, but it wasn't her,
Yeah.
because he's been not saying that the wolf is in him all the time and he
Mm-hmm.
has to deal with it. And as heartbreaking as it is when he leaves,
Yeah.
even the first time I saw this, I was like, it's the right thing to do. He needs to go deal with
Yes.
this stuff in a place where he is less emotionally involved with people around him, where he can focus on this one thing. Because
It
when
makes
he's
sense.
with his friends, with Willow, he's always going to be like, oh, the wolf is not real. But if he spends all his time focusing on it, maybe he'll actually be able to figure some stuff out. But it
Yeah.
is so heartbreaking for Willow.
Well, and
Just,
one thing that I don't I wish the show touched on a little bit more. Well, that's kind of spoilery. But Oz killed someone. Like,
yeah,
Veruca is a human. Like, he killed a person. And obviously it was to defend Willow. Like, Veruca stated that she wanted to get rid of Willow. Like, he's justified in doing it. But at the same time, like, this is Oz. Oz is so, like, chill and peaceful and gentle. It is not in his nature to be aggressive. And he made the choice to kill as he was starting to transition into werewolf form. And
yeah.
that's something that, inevitably we know it's going to weigh very heavily on him. And I feel like Veruca, him having to kill her, I don't know if that was the deciding factor and what made him realize he really needed to go figure some stuff out. But I feel like it had to be a huge part of it. The fact that he ended her life and that realization, like, oh, okay, like there is this wolf inside of me. I am intricately intertwined with this, and I need to figure out how to control it and manage it better. Because, man, like, killing her the day after he slept with her in a way that he remembers is very intense. I feel like
Yeah.
Oz needs a therapist. He already needed one, and I need
Yeah.
him to talk to somebody now, because that
You
is
know,
heavy.
when this happened, in 1999, when I saw this for the first time, I got real excited when he walked out, because I was like, oh, he's going to go to Angel, right? I was
Aw,
like, oh, he's going to
yeah.
join the cast of Angel. And I was like,
No,
oh, I
like,
want to see
that's where
Oz
he's
in Los
going.
Angeles. And I was so excited about it. And that's not what happened. And there's behind the scenes story is that Seth Green's movie career was taking off and he wanted
Yeah.
to have time to go do movies. And I've read different versions of the story. Some say he asked to be written off the show, but a lot of the stories say he asked for them to help him rearrange his schedule so that maybe he was on the show a little bit less and therefore would have time for movies, and they
Yeah.
opted for the write him off entirely plan. It's not
Yeah.
the last we'll see of him, but it
No.
it practically is. And it's heartbreaking because of how it affects Willow, but it's also heartbreaking because I think there was a lot more to explore with his character. And
Yeah.
I also was always like, they could do a spin-off show. Like, I want
That
to
would have been
know
great.
what it's like to control being a werewolf. I want to see the things that he did, like the people he met with and
Yeah,
how he figures this out. I think that's fascinating.
that would have been
And
really interesting.
I don't know, maybe, the reboot, if it's really happening, maybe they'll bring Oz back. Like,
That
they
would be
could.
so much fun.
It'd
I
be
would be okay
amazing.
with that.
I love that he and Sarah Michelle Gellar have been friends since they were like 8 years old.
I know.
It's so cute that
They're
they
precious.
grew up together as professional, acting children, and they went to
Ugh.
the Fame High School in New York and all that stuff.
And they both seem so unproblematic, which is so refreshing.
Oh, in real life, yeah.
Yeah. It's just great.
Seth Green had a small recurring part on Entourage, which is a show
Oh,
about
yeah.
horrible people behaving horribly,
Ugh.
and the version of himself, everybody plays a heightened version of themselves when they come on that show, and the version that he played of himself was unbearable.
Yeah.
And he must have been having such a good time because he was like being like the worst kind of Hollywood douchebag, and it
Ugh.
it was hilarious. Entourage is a
That's
show that I
precious.
struggle with how much I enjoyed it because it's just like toxic masculinity with
It
glitter on it,
feels wrong to be
but it's
that
so funny.
entertained. It is funny.
It's very funny, and
It helps that most of those men are gems in real life for
that really does
what
help.
it seems. Like, otherwise, not so much.
Just ugh.
But
Anyway,
it
Seth Green, great, did a great job, and he's gone on to have what looks from the outside like the funnest career
I
ever, where he makes
know.
robot chicken. Like that
Yeah.
just looks like playing with your friends, but you make money. Like
Mhm.
that's
Great
awesome.
creative outlet, it seems like. And obviously, being on Family Guy and voicing Chris is another pretty entertaining career move, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean he's doing
Good
fine,
for
and
him.
I've never seen any like Seth Green got wasted at a club and blah blah. I've never seen any news like that anywhere about
No.
him or Sarah Michelle Gellar or Charisma Carpenter
No.
or Michelle
Freddie Prinze
Trachtenberg.
Jr.
Yeah,
He and Sarah seem to have, like, for Hollywood, like, a magical relationship.
yeah.
Like,
Everything I've ever
it's
seen
kinda
about them
nice.
looks fantastic. And she often tells the story like she's like, we weren't even interested in each other. We were just friends for a long time. And then one day we were like,
Aw.
hey, you know what?
That's cute. Oh
I was
gosh.
just watching, as you know, I like to watch Bones, and I was just watching, and I had
Oh,
completely forgotten that
bones.
Freddie Prince Jr. is on a couple of episodes, and he showed up, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's Mr.
I don't
Sarah Michelle
remember that
Gellar."
at all.
Yeah, he plays
I
a
need to
CIA
rewatch
agent.
Bones.
He's yeah, they have a couple of cases where they run into him as a CIA agent because
Dang.
somebody, something. One of them, it's like a spy. And the other one, it's like somebody who was like an interpreter that he helped get out of Afghanistan or
Mhm.
something.
That might be
Yeah,
my new background rewatch.
it's
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 it's a
a
good
fun
mix
show.
of things. Like, there's a
Yeah,
lot
there's a
going
lot
on.
to enjoy on Bones.
Oh
I
gosh.
I like the magical computer that with like 30 seconds of typing can recreate very elaborate crime scene
Uh-huh. Yep.
footage.
That
It's
happens in real life
It's really
all the
amazing. And
time.
how everyone's like, the person who invented this magic computer, Angela, they're always like,
Mhm.
Angela's not a genius like the rest of us. And I'm like, have you
I
seen the
know. I was like,
have
"Guys,
did you see the computer that she made? You can't do that. Literally no one can do that. But
that's
like,
so funny."
and they're constantly telling her she's not a genius. It drives me crazy.
Mhm. Good show. If you
Anyway,
haven't seen it, check it out.
it's fun. And it's David
But
Boreanaz and he gets to go in sunlight and stuff. And it's great.
he gets to go in sunlight. Speaking of men, that's a kind of segue. Riley in this episode being in the right place at the right time,
Yeah.
preventing Willow from stepping into traffic. I love how he, like, not only did he save her life, which still, like, he ran in front of a moving car to pull her away. That's very
Yeah.
nice. But he seems genuinely concerned about her. And I guess it's Mark Blucas, like that. I don't know he just seems so sweet.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's Riley's character. Like, he's kind of this corn-fed Iowa guy. But I just inherently trust him,
Yeah.
which is weird for a man on
I
TV.
don't know how much of that is him and how much of that is
Riley.
like Riley and how much of that is Mark Blucas, right?
I
Because
know.
I've seen him on some other things where he plays a kind of similar character. And so I'm like, okay, I still don't know how much is Mark and how much is the character. But I know he's done some things that are not that character, and I just haven't seen them. So I've got to maybe do a little homework and see some of his other projects because, like, he was in that hilarious movie with Katie Holmes where she's the president's daughter
Oh,
and
yeah.
she goes to college, and
Is that
he is
President or First Daughter? Is that what it's
there's
called?
2 movies that came out around the same
President's
time.
Daughter?
One with Mandy Moore and one with Katie Holmes that are both about a president's daughter being
So
kind of a
random.
wild child in her like late teens, early 20s. And one of them is called First Daughter. I don't remember what the other one's called. I don't know
I
which one
guess
is
this
which.
was around the time of the Bush twins.
No, not yet. This was
Was
Chelsea
it?
Clinton.
Oh, poor Chelsea. They
Yeah.
were so mean to her.
But it was I remember when Chelsea was like getting ready to go to college, there was a lot of press like how are the Secret Service going to protect her at college and what if she goes to a frat party and
Oh,
and
yeah.
everybody's sticking their nose in her
Okay,
business.
2004, First Daughter is the Katie Holmes, Mark Blucas
All right, so that was Bush
movie.
twins era. Yeah. But they weren't
Dang,
wild childs yet. They were still pretty young then.
that's true. Because they both went to UT. And that was one of the reasons my parents were like, you can't go to UT, University of Texas. But my parents were like, you can't go there. The Bush twins did this, this, and this, and there's all this drinking. And I was like, what?
That's every college.
Yeah, I was like, what do you think is going to happen? Every single college, hate to break it to you, has people that drink.
Yeah.
They might not have 6th Street in Austin readily available, but, it's fine.
It didn't stop us in Poughkeepsie. We had plenty of booze. Like
Oh,
so much booze.
gosh.
So much booze. So yeah, I don't know about Mark Lucas if he's as solid as he seems on screen, but
I hope so.
he sure seems, and it'll come up later, but he seems so wholesome and solid and corn-fed that you're a little bit like,
Uh-huh.
is this real? And also a little bit like, are you boring?
I know. As a kid, as a 12-year-old watching this, I was like, give me Angel.
Yeah.
Like, what is this guy? I hated Riley.
I did too
Watching it
at
through the
first.
first time.
But once I started rewatch, I was like, oh, Riley. Like
I know.
So,
well, and at this point in time, I do think he's genuine. Where we're at
Yeah.
in this season, I think this is really who he is. And it's nice that, I don't know, I think they do a good job of allowing his and Buffy's relationship and attraction to kind of build up.
Yeah,
Like,
really
they don't,
slowly over time.
yeah, like they don't hit us over the head with it. And he's saving her best friend's life, like doing all these things that are very admirable. The way it ended was heavy as hell. Like,
Yeah.
Oz, that one exchange when Willow says, but don't I get a say? And he just says, no. I was like, oh, that hurts. And then she said, Oz, don't you love me? And he said, my whole life, I've never loved anything else. I was just like, damn it, people.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking. And I think it's really funny that, months ago, I said to everybody who's ever guested on this podcast, like, let me know what episodes you're interested in.
Huh.
No one wanted this one.
Yeah.
No one.
It's not
It's painful.
really fun to watch, but it's so important.
Yeah.
And it feels different. I think like there are plenty of other episodes, some that we've had and some that we will get to, where characters die or something happens where they are permanently gone. Like it is not their choice to no longer be around. This one feels so much heavier because Oz chooses to
Yeah.
leave.
Exactly.
And that opens up so many opportunities for character development for Willow.
Yeah. And it also brings back to the surface, like in a rush, like a speedy rush, her insecurity about not being lovable or cool.
Ugh,
Right? Earlier in the
yeah.
episode, when she is trying to like seduce Oz, she's got a new look, right? She's wearing leather pants and like this weird
Cute little
shirt.
shirt.
That shirt was weird, but it was a
I
little
liked it.
sexy. And, it was very clearly like, oh, well, if he's attracted to Veruca, maybe if I just dress a little bit more like Veruca.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. And then she's just like, I can't even be a little bit cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard in a situation like this. Oz leaving has so much to do with Oz and Oz's garbage and stuff that he needs to figure out for himself. And he's leaving to protect Willow because he loves her.
Mhm.
But it's so easy from Willow's perspective to be like, he doesn't love me enough to stay. I'm not
Yep.
enough. He
Yep.
can't control himself for me. And I think this is a thing that a lot of partners go through when their partner has an addiction or
Yes.
PTSD or a mental illness. Like, aren't
Mhm.
I enough for you? Can't my love be enough to heal you of this horrible
Yeah.
thing? And it's just, unfortunately, humans don't really work that way.
Yeah.
You can't love someone out of an addiction. They have to get
No.
out of it themselves. You can help them, but it can't be for you either. That won't last. Like, he can't be like, "Oh, I love Willow so much, I'm not gonna be a werewolf anymore." Like, he just can't do
Yeah.
that.
No.
And he makes a very mature decision, and the way that he leaves, he barely looks at her, and I think for her, she's like, "He's not even looking at me." And I read that as, Oz knows if he spends too much time looking at her, he'll stay.
Yep.
And so he gets out of there as
Exactly.
fast as he can.
He does the forehead kiss, which is somehow so much more painful than if he had kissed her on the lips.
Yeah.
Like,
Was more intimate in a way.
yeah, and then bolts. And that's exactly how I interpreted it, is that if he doesn't make himself leave right now, he will not be strong enough to follow through with it and go. And then of course, Willow is going to internalize all of that.
Yeah.
And it is really devastating, and I feel so much for her. I just want to hug her. I really
Yeah.
do. And you also know that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
It sure
So,
is.
oh,
And it will
Willow.
result in one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Mhm. There are some really good ones coming up.
Yeah, there's really good ones.
Mhm.
Let me see. I think we've talked about all my major stuff.
I think everything else I have is spoilery.
Yeah. Oh, I did write down.
Very
I don't
spoilery.
remember being mad at Oz the character, just being mad at Joss Whedon.
That's true. Well, because I remember like watching it, it's like Oz wouldn't do that. Oz didn't do that. They're making him do this.
Yeah. I was thinking about, what does it mean when a fictional character is doing something that you think is out of character? Because by definition, whatever they're doing is their character
Exactly.
because it's fiction and the writers write them that way.
Mhm.
And there's a character on another show, and they've been on 3 seasons of this show. And in the first season, you don't know if they're a good guy or a bad guy. And in the second season, they seem to be a bad guy. And you're like, "Oh, when did he turn into a bad guy?" And in the third season, you're like, "Oh, he's a psychopath from the beginning."
Oh
And
God.
following the arc is so much better than if right up front they'd been like, "This guy is a psychopath.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Watch what happens next." Like, the development of it is true because it is what happened in the show. That's canon. But at
Yeah.
the same time, I agree that it felt out of character for Oz to cheat on Willow.
Yep.
Like,
I was like, this
where did
feels
that come from?
weird. But they did. I will say, with the way that they set things up, it was still very believable. And watching it now, when it's not fresh and new and emotional, I can see that a little bit better.
And when I'm older and I've been through some stuff, like
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
at the time I was like, it's so, he would never cheat on Willow. Like, why did they write it like that? And
Mm-hmm.
they did layer Veruca in for several episodes, and they kept
Yes, there
showing him
was some
being
build up.
drawn to her. And also, I think the first time I saw this, I had not myself experienced a sexual attraction that was undeniable and powerful
Mm-hmm.
and overwhelming like that. And now I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have so much more sympathy for Oz.
That's true. Yes, 6th grade me was not on board or understanding.
Yeah, not nuanced understanding of
Nope.
that. But I feel bad for him and Willow in this
That is
situation. They're
hard to
both hurt by
navigate.
it.
It's difficult.
Yeah, he made some what I think of as bad decisions,
Yeah.
especially the like lying to Buffy and all that stuff, but he was subject to some things that he couldn't control, and he didn't know how to handle it, and he did some dumb stuff, but I also have to remember that he's like 19 years old.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And that's
Like,
another thing that must have hurt so much more for Will. Like, he's a 19-year-old guy. Of course he's going to want to have sex. Like, that's the idea. Like, of course he wants sex all the time. So it must be me. And Xander, poor guy, kind of reinforces that for
yeah,
her. But it is easy to forget sometimes that they are still teenagers.
yeah, they're
And they're
babies.
gonna make mistakes. This is the time. This is
And
when you do
especially
it.
when it has to do with sex, because
Yep.
sex is hard enough for me at 52
Yep.
to
Yep.
deal with in a mature and reasonable and rational way. So I can't, like, when I look back on the way that I operated, the decisions I made, the things I did when I was like 19, 20,
Oh gosh.
25, 28, I, I was a moron. I made bad decisions. I did stupid stuff. I
Yeah.
didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what things meant. I didn't have anyone to go to talk about it that was a good sounding board, so I just, like, sort of figured things out on my own, and so I screwed up a lot of stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's realistic that all of that, like, Buffy sleeping with Parker was a horrible decision, but it's a
Yeah.
completely understandable one.
It's a very relatable one.
Yeah, like, I've done that. I've slept
Yep.
with someone who turned out to be like, "No, this was a one-time thing." And I'm been like, "What? I
Yep.
thought we had something." Like, I've been
Ugh.
there.
Oh gosh.
And you feel like a moron, but, like, that's what happens.
Yeah. It is very realistic that they're bound to make poor choices.
And if
And
they
they
only
have this
never made
supernatural crap thrown in.
and if they only ever made, like, really smart choices, the show would be boring,
Yeah. Nobody
and we
wants to
would not
watch
have
that.
anything to talk about.
Oh, jeez.
Alright. I think we've pretty much covered it. Let's move on to some
Okay.
pop and not pop culture references. First up, we have Buffy saying, "If the Stones can still keep rolling, why can't Giles?" The Rolling Stones, led by Mick Jagger, is a band of British rockers who first hit it big in the mid 1960s. They've been extremely popular and influential ever since, and they continue to perform and record music currently, though they are all over 50 years old. Oh,
And
over 50? Uh, far past the average age of a rock star. And this trivia or whatever was
it's
written
old. Yeah.
in the early 2000s. They're a lot older now.
Oh, that's fantastic. And still kicking.
And still
Uh
kicking, yeah.
let's see. Next we've got Oz talking about his wolfiness, saying unless the extreme Jerry Garcia look turns you on. And Jerry Garcia was the lead singer and guitarist, of course, of the Grateful Dead, who, if you somehow don't know, was a psychedelic band known for its cult-like following, known as Deadheads, and their heavy drug use.
That's quite a simplification of the Grateful
I
Dead.
know.
Buffy says about Veruca, "Yeah, she's Kel Fiona, color me bored." Buffy is presumably making a comparison to Fiona Apple, a young singer with a seemingly bad attitude. I have to say, I was way deep into Fiona Apple in the
That
90s.
Criminal music
Yeah,
video, I remember watching that on repeat. I mean, it also said something else about me. I was like, this is very attractive. Why is
yeah,
this so compelling?
yeah.
But
Her
ugh,
voice is amazing. I saw her
so talented.
randomly. I saw her live when I went to a taping of the Conan O'Brien show before when it was still
That's
on
cool.
the Late Show. Yeah, and she
Oh
was the live
yeah.
musical guest.
Ugh, that's fun. And then more musical references this episode. Xander, of course, says to Willow, "Wild monkey love or tender Sarah McLachlan love?" And Sarah McLachlan is a popular singer known for her soft, easy listening songs. You may remember her song Full of Grace from the album Surfacing, which played at the end of the Buffy episode Becoming Part 2.
Yeah, one of the saddest uses
That
of
was
music in television. It's a
intense.
heartbreaking moment.
Yep. Very well done.
Veruca says, oh, this is one of my favorite things in the whole episode. So, this is why you called me here to see your habit trail. Habit Trail is a maker of, quote, environments for small pets, usually hamsters or gerbils, consisting of plastic tubes and toys. This was also a reference in Graduation Day Part 1. Yeah, Oz says about Amy being a rat. Well, you got the swinging
Mhm.
habit trail going. I think she's in a good place.
I watched this. God, I watched it last week and then I watched it again today to refresh my memory. And hearing it this time, I thought she said happy trail. And I was just like, what is she talking about? Oz has his shirt on. Like, you can't see anything. And I hit the like 10-second rewind and I saw how it was spelled. I was like, oh, that must be a misspelling. And then I Googled it and I was like, oh, yeah,
Habit trail.
that makes sense. Like, good job, brain. Good
All
job.
right, let's move on to some trivia.
Woohoo. So, first up, JW had originally envisioned this love triangle between Oz, Veruca, and Willow to continue for most of season 4. However, Seth Green left the series to take a film role in the movie Knock Around Guys, and JW says losing Green was a heartbreaker, and so Willow got her heart broken. I took what we were feeling and put it on screen so everybody would be on the same page. And I mean, you can kind of tell that the plot in this one episode was probably a little rushed and meant to
Yeah, it did feel a little
go on a
rushed,
little
and
longer. But with what they had, I
I
think
think
they handled it well.
I think it comes out well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Marty Noxon has stated that Wild at Heart is viewed as the second episode in a Willow Oz trilogy, with Phases as the first and New Moon Rising as the last. And that's later this season, New Moon Rising.
Mhm. Let's see. In the Wild at Heart commentary by JW, Marty Noxon, and Seth Green, Seth mentions that the stage direction for the scene when he is in his cage in the cemetery waiting for the sun to go down and Veruca walks in was, "I want you to act like you're just about to come onto acid and you know that it's coming and you feel all that tension and anxiety, but it hasn't happened yet." And my thoughts, I was like, so I've never done acid.
Me
I don't
neither.
know what that feels like. So I don't know how good that stage direction would be to someone who
Only
hasn't
if
done
that person has
acid.
done acid, yeah.
Right? I was
But
like, I don't
maybe,
really know what that means.
yeah. I mean, I understand the rest of it, right? Like
Yeah.
the tension and anxiety, but it hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet. I felt that way about other things,
Yeah. I
but
was like, that I get.
a little
Somebody that's
weird.
done acid, write in and let us know. I'll ask my dad.
The following line of Veruca's was cut from the scene as Veruca is about to attack Willow. Veruca saying, "Go ahead and cry, but you should have seen this coming. You can't tame a wild thing. He's not yours anymore. He's in you. He'd be thinking about me." Ugh. No,
Ugh,
not
I'm
thinking.
glad they
It's deeper
cut
than
that.
that. Why don't you just try to relax now? In a minute or two, it'll all be over, said a rapist. Like, gross.
Right?
I hate everything
That's,
about this dialogue except for the first go ahead and cry. You
yeah.
should have seen this coming. Like, that's fair, but after that, it just gets really bad.
Yeah, it's
No
gross.
Ugh.
I can see why they cut that.
Yeah.
Not necessary. While filming the scene where Oz and Veruca have just woken up from their mating evening as werewolves, Seth Green talked about being naked except for a quote-unquote man thong, and stated that this was incredibly uncomfortable since Paige Moss had her boyfriend visiting the set that day. What a day for
Yeah. I
your
wouldn't.
significant other to come to work.
Did he come to work because this was the scene that day? Like,
That's a great
this
question.
is also before intimacy coordinators were a thing. Like,
Yeah.
now that would have been a closed set and they would have had minimal crew. Like, anytime that there's nudity and stuff now on most movies, they are much more thoughtful about who's on set.
Very true.
In 1985, Lindsay Krause played Seth Green's mother in I Want to Go Home. Lindsay Krause is Maggie Walsh, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, 1985 movie I Want to Go Home. Here, Oz attacks and tries to kill Krause's character, Professor Walsh. Green laughingly called this coincidence the circle of life.
That's cute. And kind of special. Oh, gosh. In a BBC interview, writer Marty Noxon says she would have liked to have directed this episode as it was close to her heart, particularly the metaphor that most of us have a creature inside of us that makes us do things that we wish we didn't do. She adds the whole issue of sexuality between men and women is kind of fraught because of the beast.
We have come to the part of the podcast where I ask, does it still slay?
I mean, yes. It's not like I have fun watching the episode, but I think it is a well crafted, well acted episode that holds up and, like you mentioned, is absolutely critical for the rest of the series. It is a huge turning point.
I agree. I think it holds up really well and it remains incredibly relevant to all relationships.
Oh, yeah.
It's instructive and it made us sad and angry. I mean, it's working.
Yeah, that's what you
Slay.
want good TV to do, is make you feel things. Boy.
It's time for some news, and we actually have some news.
I
Sarah Michelle
know.
Gellar says the Buffy the Vampire Slayer reboot is, quote, progressing faster than I'd anticipated. And apparently this is an exclusive by Nicholas Rice for People magazine. The actress, 47, tells People in an exclusive interview that she is surprised by the current status of the recently announced reboot to the popular series, in which she starred in a career-defining role as titular Slayer Buffy Summers. We've set up our offices, which means things are progressing probably faster than I'd anticipated, Geller says, but it's going to be a process, I think. To do it the way it needs to be done, everyone has to be patient with all of us because this isn't something that will just happen, she continues. And then this is later in the article. As for what she hopes longtime Buffy fans will take away from the upcoming reboot, as well as new viewers who are introduced to the heroic character and her world for the first time, Geller tells people as an actor, you just want to do work that stands the test of time, that people still enjoy, not just when it comes out, but years later, and it is still impactful for them. So the fact that this show is still so impactful to the people that watched it the first time, along with me, to young kids today that are just discovering it and feel like it still speaks to them, being able to bring more people to her, it's the greatest gift an actor could ever ask for. Truly.
Aww.
It's a little hokey, but like, aw.
It is, but it's so true. I was like, it still impacts quite a few people. We're here talking about it in 2025.
Hours. We spend hours
Yep.
and hours talking about it.
Like, well done. Well done, for sure. And she always seems like a really genuine, sweet person. So I'm happy that she has had this kind of success.
Me too. All right, let's see what some of our listeners have to say over at the Bronze.
Bronze things. Things of bronze.
So, Coffee and Vodka says, greetings, sure, that's hard to say, dude. Okay. Greetings, sure shot slayers. Oh my gosh. that was probably more difficult than it needed to be. I did take cold medicine. Anyway, he says, and there's that fourth relationship from episode 3, gone. Knew there was a reason. I'd completely forgotten this one. As well written and produced as this FU to Seth was, I tend to skip the straight up tragedies, and it doesn't get much more tragic. Willow's heartbreak was as visceral as Oz's solution to the Veruca problem. Dredging up unwanted memories of the heartbreak, not throat ripping variety, that she couldn't go through with the curse was further proof of Willow being the best person ever, as well as decent foreshadowing of future witchy days. Gonna miss Oz, though we do have the consolation of only being 4 episodes away from the best Buffy episode ever. 4 Vulpine Vixens. Ooh, that's good. I like that. Cage matches and not so fond farewells out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and vodka.
Now I want to look. What's 4 episodes? Which one is 4 episodes later? So this is 6.
Is it something blue?
Yeah, it's something blue. I agree with you.
Awesome. Yeah,
one of the best episodes
great
ever.
Episode. I cannot wait.
I'm so excited to get there. All right.
It'll be good.
We heard from Piotr again, and this time an email, not a voicemail. He says, "Here we are. One of the most painful episodes, and only because Seth Green had to ascend to the higher plane of show business. At least the creators didn't resort to an old lazy move of killing the character or possibly bringing Oz back with a new face, a different actor, after he was mauled by Veruca and had to undergo plastic surgery. Yeah, that was popular in the 80s.
That would have been so much worse.
It would have been kind of hilarious, but I'm glad they didn't do it.
Yeah.
I think I like the existing option better, as devastating as it was. I only have a few questions. Was this episode about embracing one's own true nature? All right, let's take these questions one at a time.
Okay.
I don't know if it was about embracing your true nature so much as admitting the reality of your own nature.
Yes. And acknowledging, the negative aspects of yourself and not shying away from them and actually confronting them. I think.
Not just pushing them down. So that's the second question too. Was it about the difficulty of defining our true nature? Yes. Who are we really, and what version of ourselves constitutes our true nature? This is a question I love thinking about. So there are a bunch of different shows that have, and we talked about this a little bit a few episodes ago, that have shown torture, and the person doing the torture is like, oh, I love to put people in pain because then I get to see who they truly are. But that's not who you truly are when you're in an extreme circumstance. That's survival version of yourself.
There's a reason why duress is a defense to contracts.
Yeah. It's not your true self. And I don't know what does constitute our true nature. I think it's sort of the entire quest of your life to try to figure it out. And maybe there are people out there who are have simpler natures than I do, and they figured it out when they were like 14 and they're all set, but I'm still working on it.
Yeah. I think that's such an interesting. I immediately went to more of the idea of character, which is interesting. Like it's who you are is what your true character is what you do when people aren't looking or if nobody knows. Like if you could get away with something, would you do it? That type of thing. And I think that ties in. I think it says a lot about our true nature, how you act when nobody else is looking and there's no necessary reward or consequence to your actions.
Yeah. And Oz very much takes responsibility for what happens when he's the wolf. At the end of this episode, he goes from, I don't know what happens when I'm the wolf, I'm just gone, to I have to deal with the wolf. And locking himself in a cage all these times has been a version of accountability for being a wolf, but it's a little bit of avoiding it and pushing it down. And whatever this quest is that he's about to go on is more about confronting the wolf. And that is a deeper understanding of his true nature. And
it's a very interesting kind of examination of repression.
Yeah.
And the risks of repressing things, whether that be anger or desires or, what have you. And obviously we know werewolves are frequently used as metaphors for all sorts of things. And with Oz, I think it's very interesting and intentional how calm and peaceful he is, and that this is truly like a beast inside of him. It makes it obviously a little more on the nose, but I mean, I don't know where that was going. What's
Yeah.
that Michael Scott quote? Like, sometimes I just start a sentence and I don't know.
Yeah. That happens to me all the time.
Completely fell out of my brain. That's
Was it
good.
about the difficulties of coming out? Maybe a little bit.
Oh, I love that as a werewolf metaphor.
Yeah.
That's a
Werewolves are
good one.
definitely used as a metaphor for coming out of the closet or
Yeah.
for, yeah, like you were saying, any number of
Yeah.
repressed urges or just for human id.
Yeah.
Um, was it about Oz resorting to hiding his urges? A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Was it the source of the fallout?
What's it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is in that question, but there's definitely going to be fallout, and it
Oh
did come
yeah.
from everything that happened in this episode. Would it
Mm.
end differently if Oz was more upfront about everything with Willow ever since he felt a thing the first time he saw Veruca? That is an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah. I
Because
wonder.
what if they, if he had said to the Scoobies, something's going on with this Veruca chick, and
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like the way I have ever felt with anyone else before. And they're all, even if he had just gone to Giles and said that, and Giles would have been like, huh, maybe she's also a werewolf. Like they could have
Yeah.
like watched her and figured it out, and maybe she wouldn't have died because they
Yeah.
could have found another way. It all sort of came out in chaos because of the way that he handled it,
Yeah. I think
which
it
is what
would be an
happens when you repress.
it would be an entirely different story
Yeah.
if he had been upfront, and because he would have been thinking logically and rationally and trying to work through it and kind of intellectualizing it, instead of, you know, this dealing with this animalistic part of him that he couldn't quite identify and put his finger on. I mean, I think if he would have been upfront with the Scoobies, it would have been an entirely different situation.
Yeah. Might have been
And,
really interesting, but
and with
that's
Willow, maybe I don't know.
I mean, they could have gone down a whole different route where he says, I feel drawn to Veruca. I found out she's a werewolf too, and Willow just kills her.
Oh god.
Um,
Yeah. Dark
you know,
Willow.
that could have happened. There's a lot of ways they could have gone with the story.
Yeah.
Was Veruca's approach healthier than Oz's, even though she didn't care about the harm she caused while being totally lucid during her wolf time? Maybe for her it was a little bit healthier than being
Yeah.
repressed. But
I
I don't think that that's not sustainable, right? She wasn't gonna live
yeah.
for a very long time letting herself randomly kill people once a month.
And I think I don't think the message was also that she had the healthier viewpoint. I think it was very intentional that their two, ways of coping with being a werewolf were so drastically different.
Right.
That is what we were supposed to see, is that the way Oz is dealing with it is not necessarily the healthiest way. He's not being entirely honest with himself, but at the same time, neither is Veruca.
No.
You
And the
know,
way she's like, "I don't care if I kill people," is
not healthy.
disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the two extremes. You need that kind of, oh gosh. Now I'm
Balance.
drawing a blank. Yeah, I was thinking I don't think it was Aristotle. This is going to sound so pretentious.
Oh, good,
The
because usually I'm the pretentious one.
but the idea of this mean where you have two extremes and you meet in the middle, and that's where kind of health and balance are, where you've got, prematurity and being late.
Mhm.
What's in the middle is being on time. Like, this idea. In this episode, we are seeing two extreme examples on opposite ends of the spectrum of what is an unhealthy way. And I think Oz then ventures out to try to find the healthy middle ground. What the hell is that called? This is going to bother me. I need my
Equilibrium? No.
philosophy textbook.
Uh,
Golden mean. Golden mean. That's what I was trying to think of. And it's and then that's what it is. Aristotelian virtue ethics kind of do a play on the golden mean. Okay, I feel better now.
okay.
You're welcome, everyone. Maybe we'll cut that out.
Was it about having to suppress the true nature only when it causes harm? I mean, what other good reasons would there be to suppress your true nature, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people do suppress their true nature, and it's harmful to them.
Yeah.
But I think the only good reason to suppress your true nature is because it hurts others.
I would agree
But
with
lots
that.
of people do it because of religion or societal expectations or for money or because they're afraid of their true nature, whatever the reason is. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Is being a werewolf an identity, like being Eastern European, or is it a disorder, like being bipolar? And there is some movement out there on bipolar moving into identity, by the way. And is
Really?
the and is the difference only dictated by the harm it may cause? Okay, that's a
Ooh.
huge question because that gets
Piotr.
into when is something an identity as opposed to like a quirk or a choice
Yeah.
or a disorder or something that happened to you. The fact that
I mean,
werewolfism,
it's
I don't know if you could say
part.
ism, is an
Yeah.
infection, it makes me think it's but like people who have chronic illness, it becomes an identity. Living with
Oh,
it
yeah.
full time becomes an identity. So
Yeah.
if you think about being a werewolf like having I don't know, Lyme disease or lupus. Lupus is probably a great connection there. It
Yeah.
it does kind of become one part of your identity. It's immutable. You can't change it. You can't give it up.
Yeah.
So it's part of who you are.
That's what I was like, something that's immutable, I would feel like is part of your identity. So I
But
would
also sometimes
characterize.
things you choose could be part of your identity. Like
Yeah.
I, that is a much bigger topic. I don't feel equipped
Yeah.
to answer
That's
that one. I'm going to be
it is
thinking
an
about it a lot
interesting
though.
question. I know.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be going to sleep tonight being like,
Hmm. Did Oz make the right decision about leaving rather than sticking to the system that has worked for him and Willow so far? I think yes.
I do too. He
Didn't
can't
his
stay
decision
after
seem
that.
exaggerated given that Seth Green had to go one way or another? I don't know. I thought it was actually kind of in keeping with Oz to be a little all or nothing about things and be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I have to go figure this out, so that's what I'm going to do. Bye. Like,
He's going to go be introspective
yeah.
and think about stuff. That's very Oz.
Yeah. I I that identity question is going to be with me for a while.
I
All right. Is
know.
it like werewolf Americans? Do we need to start speaking about them more respectfully? I don't know.
Oh,
Based on these questions, I'm left with a strange taste in my mouth. It touches on a disturbing irony of defining our true nature and embracing it only if it isn't problematic. Always be yourself and everyone will love you has always been a catchphrase that gave me a pause. What if they wouldn't like some aspects of my true self? Well, then I say you don't need those people, but not everybody agrees with me.
yeah.
An amusing side note, Veruca is a repulsive character. She just appears out of nowhere like a wart or a cancer that ruins everything, which makes a lot of sense if you Google the word Veruca with a double R. I'm looking forward to discussing the remaining episodes now that we just passed the hump of misery. Something blue is a treat. Ayo! Something blue seems to be universally appreciated
Yeah.
because it is objectively awesome. And
It is
are you
great.
Googling Veruca right now?
Yes. It is a verruca is also known as a plantar wart. It is a small, rough, raised or flattened lump on the skin, typically found on the soles of the feet, caused by a viral infection, often from the human papillomavirus, aka HPV. Everybody do yourself a favor and do not image search that. You don't need the visuals to get the picture.
Okay, thank you for the warning. I really don't want to do that. All right.
Don't do it. Thanks, Piotr.
Yeah, thanks, Piotr. That was you gave us so much to think about. I mean, my God. We have a voicemail from our friend Steve.
Hello, Still Slaying. This is Steve, and I just started Wild at Heart, and I know I'm behind, so I'm not going to do a live Steve, and I'm going to try to get caught up here to the podcast. But I just started, again, I just told you, I just started Wild at Heart, and I forgot this was the episode that begins with Spike going, "The big bad is back," and then he gets hit with the shocker. Oh, yeah, I'm not a fan of this episode, because this is the whole Oz and Veruca thing. Aw, that's so sweet. Willow's got her Wicca group she's going to meet over the next 3 nights, and Oz, of course, is going to be a werewolf for the next 3 nights, so, yeah. Awkward. The current girlfriend and the whatever Veruca is trying to be to Oz meeting at the coffee place. Flogging and punishing himself. This is sounding wrong. And not locked in a cage for long, though. Oz broke out. Okay, so we have 2 werewolves now. And now we have Oz waking up to Veruca being next to him. Naked. So Oz turning down Veruca was good, but then her whole "see you tonight," bleh. So Oz has his own dorm room by himself. Willow is just visiting him now. Huh? And Willow comes to Xander for advice about her sex life. That's a big, yeah, right. Okay, so after the night with Veruca, right, Oz and Buffy are going to go out looking for her now. And Willow's trying some kind of spell. We haven't seen her Wiccan group yet. Oh, now we have Werewolf Oz and Werewolf Veruca going at it. And fighting each other, not going at it the way before. Oh, and did he just rip her throat out with his teeth? Oh, but it's Buffy to the rescue. Oh, and Buffy's remembering the people from Halloween and the military garb guy she encountered the night before. Don't use Buffy as a model for your breakup. I know this is the way they just wanted to write Seth Green out of the show, but it's crappy. I'm done.
Aw, Steve, I hope you're not done, because we really want you to come back for the more fun episodes that are on the way.
Oh.
All right, that's the end of the main section of the podcast. If you want to hear us talk about spoilery stuff, stay tuned for the Watcher's Diaries at the end.
And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can find all of our contact information at podcastica.com and in the show notes for each episode. Also at podcastica.com, you'll find links to our social media pages and all of our other shows.
So some of you probably know that I am currently podcasting about Yellow Jackets, and Yellow Jackets Season 3 has been completely unhinged and a lot of fun to podcast about because there's just so much going on. And a really weird little tiny fact I found out recently is that when they recast the part of Willow after the pilot, you know, when they shot the pilot, some other actor was playing Willow and they decided that wasn't quite right.
Oh, yeah.
JW wanted to cast Melanie Lynskey, who is one of the stars of Yellow Jackets, but they couldn't work out her immigration issues, and it was too complicated. So they ended up with Allison Hannigan, who I think does an amazing job and is iconic as Willow. But I just was like, oh, I love Melanie Lynskey, and that would have been so different. And
that would have been interesting.
It would have been really interesting. I'm glad for the career that Melanie Lynskey went on to have. I think she's done some amazing stuff. And if you're not watching Yellow Jackets, check it out.
Seriously.
We were talking about this recently on the podcast. We can't decide what genre it's in because it's horror, it's drama, it's comedy, it's farce, it's satire.
Mm-hmm.
It's action-y, a little action-y. It's a little soap opera-y. It's got
a little sci-fi-y, possibly.
Yeah, it's possibly supernatural.
Crime.
I don't know. Yeah, oh yeah, there's some crime.
It's so good.
It's really
That's
good.
all I'm listening to right now. Also, are y'all's Yellow Jackets podcasts. I haven't listened to anything else for like 3 weeks. So
it is very, very satisfying show to podcast about. There's a lot to say and a lot of fan theories to talk about. It's a lot of fun. And if you like the 90s, there's a lot of 90s nostalgia in there too. And there's tons of other good stuff at Podcastica. And right now I'm also really enjoying the White Lotus. And the White
Yes.
Lotus podcast has been really fun.
I need
And
to catch up.
it's coming soon, very soon. The Last of Us comes back. Andor is coming back. Handmaid's Tale is coming back. There is some great stuff happening in April. Wheel of Time just came back. There's tons going on.
That'll be great. Ugh. And as always, if you like what we do, please go ahead and give us a 5-star rating, a review, or a like, follow, and subscribe. Next time, be sure to tune in and we'll be covering Buffy Season 4, Episode 7, The Initiative. Thanks, everyone, and...
You came on business, I hope.
Yes, lucky for you, people may be in danger. I love that.
Giles, so bored. All right,
guy.
That's the end of the non-spoiler section. If you want to avoid spoilers, you should stop listening right now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Watcher's Diaries time.
It's too bad we can't sneak a look at the Watcher Diaries and read up on Angel. I'm sure it's full of fun facts to know and tell.
Yeah. That's too bad. That stuff is private.
Also, Giles keeps them in his office, in his personal files.
Most importantly, it would be wrong.
You heard us several times allude to how the episode is the precursor to some future episode that's really awesome. That is, of course, the episode Something Blue, where Willow uses magic to try to remove her pain over Oz's disappearance, and all hell breaks loose.
Mm-hmm.
Very funny
Glorious
things happen.
hell.
And it's delightful. And if, even if you're listening to this spoiler section, but you haven't seen it, I don't want to ruin it for you because it's so fun.
It's
so
good.
Fun. And I don't know, we're gonna have to have cake or something the day that we cover that one because it's just
that would
deserves
be so
celebration.
Fun. I love that.
Um,
the Something Blue aspect of it. And Willow, obviously, we've talked before about how there's a buildup and some great foreshadowing of Willow using magic to try and fix her problems or avenge perceived or actual wrongs. And that is gonna come up a few more times.
Oh, just a little bit in the
Just
future.
A smidge.
One thing I was thinking about earlier in the episode, I said that JW said, whenever we run into a brick wall or whatever, we just put Willow in danger. When in doubt, put Willow in danger because she's so cute. And all of that is true, but they also give her more and more and more power. So by the time we get to the end of season 4, Willow has acquired so much magical power that putting her in danger doesn't have the same effect anymore because all of the audience knows how powerful she is. And so it's one of the many reasons why they introduced Dawn as a character, is to have a new, cute, helpless person to put in danger, to have that dynamic on the show.
That works very well with Dawn.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
and also in this episode, did you see the Wicca group on campus? I love that there's like a little hint of that here, and we will see very soon Willow meet Tara.
Yes.
I am so excited.
And as sad as we all are for Oz to leave the show, everyone loves Willow and Tara together.
Yeah. It makes it I like that they went that direction. It worked out very well. Tara is a great addition.
She's so different from the other characters. She's got a whole different vibe and look to her, and I love having Willow be bisexual. I love that this show went there when no other shows, or not very many other shows, were doing it. And it was considered very groundbreaking at the time to have a main character be gay, because
especially on a teen show,
and to be bi too. I mean, they don't ever say like I am bisexual, but she had a long-term male relationship, then a long-term female relationship. I don't know how else you qualify,
Yeah.
Because it's not like we ever got the sense that she was with Oz because she felt like she had to be, right? She wasn't faking that.
No, she was clearly attracted to him and loved him.
Yeah.
And the only other example that really comes to mind when I think of this time period and openly queer characters would be Jack, is that his name, on Dawson's Creek?
Yeah, I never watched Dawson's Creek, but it was Kerr Smith, right, who played that
Yes.
character. And yeah, that was groundbreaking at the time. And it's so funny now in 2025 to remember what it was like when, you could only have a gay character if they were a side character and they were
Mm-hmm.
dying or their entire personality was about being gay. And
Yeah.
now there's just queer characters all over TV. And
Yep.
we've come so far in 25 years, and I'm
So
glad.
far. It is nice.
I mean, we're not
Ugh.
all the way done. We're not
No.
there yet, but there has been a lot of progress made, and it makes for better TV. Like, I don't know, I like to see people on screen that are real people. I just
I
want them to
know.
be put in weird, unrealistic situations, but I want the
Yeah.
people to be realistic.
Oh, that's funny. And this is like, I never really thought about it before, but this episode in particular, you are right. This kind of changes the whole trajectory of the series. When you think about season 1 and 2, the core 3 Scoobies, like the core friend group with Buffy, Willow, and Xander, was who we were focused on a lot. And then Cordelia would come in. We eventually get Oz coming in. And now we've got Cordelia over on Angel. Oz is gone, and we're kind of back to that core Scooby gang with
Yeah.
Giles. And I don't know, it's exciting. I like the episodes with them a lot. I feel like they get more screen time, they get more material. There's a lot more that goes on, and I think it's a really good direction for the show to go in. As much as I love Seth Green and I loved Oz, I think that the show changes for the better in a lot of ways after this episode.
I agree.
So excited.
So that's the complete end of our show today. Thank you for listening, everybody. And until next time, I am Penny.
And I'm Kara.
Keep slaying.